Hey, Tim, how we going? It is Kaz here from In the Trenches with Kaz. And tonight, everything should be working all right. Last night, we tried to introduce you to drop night. What is drop night? We're about to find out. I don't like to give too much, what do we say, raps to Air Force, but tonight I'm going to take a knee. They do something really well. I don't know if they do this in the Australian Army. We've got pilots in our Patreon, but we're going to see tonight what happens in the USA when pilots get their assignments the rest of their life assigned to not just the aircraft they're going to be spending the rest of their life in, but also probably their posting location too. And it could be overseas. It could be on an aircraft carrier. So this is very exciting, and I'm going to show where this could fit into an Australian scenario, something that we could do better if the Chief of the Army is watching. This would be a good time. Let's have a look what we've got first. We've always got to give respect to those that turned up and gave their time tonight. In case you're wondering what the hell is going on, Kaz, Zoolander, you're actually on the other side of the screen. What's going on? Unknown in regards to drop night. You might like this then, great Ramondo, We've got X-Ray Yankee, good to have you here, mate. Legal Eagles, great to have you here. We've got JYE Montgomery, British General right there. G'day, fellas. We've got Dad, great to have you here. We've got Great Mondo, Desi. G'day, lads. Sam was the first off the rank tonight. Who's going to be our first blue label individual? There we go. It's Brady Cars. Happy birthday, Flyboys. Bam. It's been a rough time for some of the people on our channel at the moment, but one of them's gone back into training without getting back squatted. His name's Phil. We're not going to say anything more about him. He's not a dentist, but great to see that he didn't get back classed. Not that that is as big a deal as what it seems to feel in the moment for the individuals. We're going to cover this video tonight because there's always the chance that someone that can make a difference for those that follow our footsteps to have a better opportunity, more motivation, more exciting process that gives people that sense of well-being, especially when they're serving the nation, the duty, creating that legacy for themselves and for us as a volunteer. So we'll be doing that tonight. Jakov, you should be able to pick your battalion. You should be able to pick your battalion and you should get it. Yes and no. It's all based on merit. If you're a fuck up and you come last and you're unlikable and a section commander comes from one area, he's not going to send you to one area. He's going to send you to Darwin. And it's not because I'm saying anything disparaging about 5-7 area. It's because he's going to send you to the heat, where you've got the least chance of meeting a lady over a few drinks that are overpriced in Northern Australia, and maybe the chance of getting bitten by a croc or having a half Aboriginal baby. You get it all. Yeah. The other thing is, what we might not realise is there's allocations, just like there is in drop nights, for allocations for squadrons, for different logistic planes, fat planes as we call them, or fighters, or bomber class. There's only an allocation of positions per aircraft. Same deal in the battalions. There may be nothing for 3 RAR. There may be nothing for 1 RAR. There may be some positions for 2 RAR. The rest might be all going to 5-7, 8, 9, or 6 RAR, right? Plus those that are going to natural direct entry special forces. But we're going to cover this tonight. It's very exciting. It gives me goosebumps. It's incredible. And I want to bring it to you because I'd never heard about it a few days ago. Got pointed out by a plain nut, and I love it. Same goes with any, I don't know what that means, regiment. Do you mean regiment? There's only one regiment, okay? There's only one, and that's the Royal Australian Regiment. Yep. And within that regiment is the 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion, and then it jumps up to 5-7 amalgamated, 6 RAR, 8, 9. Navy veteran, no worry lads, backpacker season is starting soon in Darwin. Just got the flight, the Marines for them. Just got to fight the Marines for them. But I don't remember ever being, I've been beaten by a Marine in a fight, but he was black, and he was way above my weight class, but I still gave it a go. free dental. I wasn't scared. But overall, we beat the Marines in almost everything we do against them. Redman's back. Kaz looking good. G'day, Redman. How you going, mate? Dad, Darwin, young lad, picked that area as his first choice. Mate, great place to live your life, right? But if you've got your father's looks, it might be a long time between drinks with the ladies, if you know what I mean. Let's get to it. Okay, lads and lasses, God bless you all and hold fast. There you go. That's someone speaking from Ramey, I believe. Ramey, hold fast. Engineers, Ramey, I believe it's an appointment title. Remind me there, NJB. Kaz, I'm well aware of the allocations of the Army's needs, but retention could be helped by sending people where they want to go. No. You earn your position, what battalion you go to. You know, if you want the best, then turn up and be the best in the platoon. If you're in the top half, then you're likely to get it. But if there's only two positions, there's only two positions. Every single person is attached to a position number. There's some things we need to do within the Australian Army where we need to look at certain numbers. We need to look at certain roles and say that would be better off being, you know, a logistical role given over to the APS, taken out of the Army, give that position number to a soldier in a uniform with a pack, with a rifle, okay, on an artillery piece, combat soldier, etc. What I reckon there, Jacob, that would be a better thing would be if they got rid of the requirement for combat soldiers to be doing paperwork. There should be allocated clerks in every single rifle platoon. So the platoon sergeant, the guy that's got the oldest, greyest hair on his nuts, should be out there training people, teaching people. It's amazing how you can speak to someone disparagingly if you can teach them more than what you're yelling. Same deal. What's a platoon commander? If he's only ever behind a computer, is he doing work for himself, for his university degree, for his promotion, or is he doing something for his platoon? This tonight, I reckon there, Jacko, you might agree with me what I'm going to come up with. Let's have a look at this. It goes for 6 minutes. It's exciting. And then we'll get on to how this will work for people in the Royal Australian Regiment. And tell me in comments, do you believe that there should be a $1,000 to $2,000 gift pack that is given to every single soldier that goes into a combat corps like infantry, armoured corps, etc. And I'll explain why in a moment. I want to go to do amphibious, but 2R is basically the modern day version of what 3R was back in the day. Well, completely different. They're amphibious as opposed to being paratroopers. You know, I'm not a big believer in specialist battalions inside a single regiment. I think they should all be light infantry. And if there's a requirement for outside of that, parachute battalions, then we should have 2 or 3 battalions with that capability. But that capability got cut away from 3RR because it got taken over by 4RR, which then ended up becoming the 2nd Commando Regiment, 2 Commando. Is your merit in OIT training a lot more relevant than Kapuka? Absolutely. Absolutely. Jacko reckons 5,000. I'm not just talking about the money at the kebab store, Jacko. We're going to talk about this in a minute, and I guarantee you're going to love the idea. Let's get people's juices flowing for RAF, and then we'll get to it. So, remember, these people have all now completed their basic aircraft teaching, and now they're going to get allocated where they're going to. Bomber class, fighter class, logistic class aircraft. They get to put down what their specifications are within their flight of pilots. You know, from there, they also have a dream list, what their number one assignment would be. And then what happens is this is like a graduation night, like a Dally M, you know, and then they get their allocation. It's a complete fucking mystery to them. And you can see this is an exciting moment for them, for their families, and for their goddamn country. Because some of these people, a year earlier, they're in Iran right now, would have been getting this allocation, not realising 1 year later, glass is broken, it's all on. Let's go, Alan. One of my favourite names, my uncle I never got to meet. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I know where you're coming, Jacko. I know where you're coming, but let's get to it. This is a culmination of their entire life.
Assignment night, also known as drop night, is a pivotal event for student pilots where they find out which aircraft they will fly after graduating and earning their wings in a few weeks. This occasion is filled with excitement and anticipation as students learn their future assignments, marking a significant milestone in their aviation journey. It represents the culmination of their hard work and dedication, setting the stage for their careers in the skies.
What's it?
Danger zone! Should the allocations be based on your looks as well? If you're not good looking, should you be able to go in fighter pilots? Don't know. I guess they give you a $300,000 helmet, so maybe.
As this is when they find out what aircraft they will specialize in for the remainder of their career.
Drop, rings. Hey, weaknesses include yes or no questions, tailwinds, short sentences of any. Let's see it.
I'll tell you a quick story. I heard the other day by one of my mates who watches all the planes before the drops on Iran occurred. I had never really heard of the F-22. And basically he said to me 2 days before this happened, he was sitting there and he goes, Kaz, you don't need to get excited. This is more saber rattling. Although what they're doing, posturing with these aircraft carriers means there's something coming. There's something coming in the Gulf, whether it be in the Gulf of Oman, the Persian Gulf, etc. You know, is it going to happen to the Houthi rebels? Is it going to happen to Hamas? Is it going to happen to Hezbollah? Is it going to happen to the end boss Iran? And then he rang me so goddamn excited and he said, there's a squadron of F-22s that have just gone dark on the radar. Bam. Next thing you know, phone call from him going, it's on, it's on. The F-22s are there. The attack is there. The supreme leader is now Julianne Fries. And it goes on from there. Let's go. F-22. And they don't take off from aircraft carriers. These are land-based, just like the bombers are.
He is most likely to call the weather
Kevin Smith.
to complain about the ban and tells him to take the stack of 100 feet left to the northward. So Captain Klein is kind of serious about this again. And this one is some inspirational quotes. Thanks for being there for us today. All right, are you ready to find out what you can fly?
Come on, Kevin. $2 billion plane he's about to get into. How do you sort of say to your family, I just got the B-2 bomber? You know, my sole job is to devastate cities and ordnance maximum casualties from a place of safety. It's like a two-edged sort of weapon, is it? You're celebrating the ability to get away with catastrophe against mankind. B2.
People say the guy that got the B-2 isn't excited, but don't realize that his level of professionalism here, not jumping up in arms in the air, is the exact reason he was assigned to the aircraft. The B-2 Spirit is one of the most expensive jets, costing over $2 billion for a single one, so America has only 16 of these jets, so they can't just let anyone drive them around normally.
Find out where you're going next.
F-15, there you go. This guy's great. Go, Gary.
What's it?
F-35 strike fighter. No! Typhoon?
Maybe this guy isn't actually happy. He's just putting on a brave face.
Here she goes, First Lady, or a man that needs a haircut. Yes, Richard. 2-6.
T6 means you're becoming a pilot instructor for those who didn't know.
Could you imagine how much testosterone you would have just lost? That's why they gave it to this lass, I think. If you saw people getting B-2 bomber, F-35, F-22, F-16, F-15, and then you get, you get the Timu, practice aircraft. Poor bastard, but she's happy, and I bet her family's proud, and someone's got to do it.
The T6 is a training aircraft, and the person assigned to it is likely at the top of their class or very CL.
I doubt it.
You have to actually push the button when you say trim.
Jack off.
So, will you go out and join the cap, or will you just like
Come on, Michelle.
Let's find out.
Good job, Michelle.
Ready to see what you're going to fly.
Give you a tip, guys. If you meet a girl out named Michelle, 100% success rate. Believe me. Been there, done that, got the clasp and the stories and the ROP appointments to prove it.
Let's see it.
Come on, handsome. F-16. There you go. Goose, Iceman. Swerve start.
Let's see it.
Come on, Tosh. F-22. Good job, mate. Typhoon. Elliot. ET, phone home.
Good old North guy. Are you ready to see what you're going to fly?
He's ready. Listo. Boom! F-22.
All right, then. Are you ready to see what you're going to fly? Let's see it.
F-16. Kill Goose.
Ready to see what you're going to fly.
Come on, Jason. Pretending to be happy. Come on, William, that's my name. It looks geeky. This plane could get in the girls.
All right, Will. Are you ready to see what you're going to fly? Let's see it.
A-10 Warthog. That's the tank in the skies, team.
That scored the A-10-1. Flying his own plane, not a GPS-guided bomber that just turns around after a 48 hours drive to get somewhere.
Dustin, this guy looks like Spanish news team, a bit of Ron Burgundy. Come on, Dustin. G'day, Brady.
Most likely to sort of the easier things, but somehow excel with the challenging things. I need about 12,000 feet to land, no flat. I'll land on center, sir. And it's a bird. Might the plane, Bob. All right.
Almost there, team 2 to go.
Are you ready to see?
Let's go, Dustin.
How excited your future's going to be here with softballs?
What's Dustin going to get? He looks like the funny guy, the tough guy of the platoon, of the flight. I reckon if I can hedge my bet, B-52 bomber or F-35. What do you reckon? What do you reckon, team? I didn't know that, Jacko. Typhoon pilots are Brits on exchange. I didn't realise. Let's go. What's he going to get? What's he going to get?
Let's see it.
B-52! Oh, yeah! That is crazy. Okay, that's it. Team. That's crazy. It's hard to understand unless you've been in the military, have a calling, etc. What we're talking about, team here. It really is. Because plane freaks are a different breed. This has been their calling their entire life. Probably started with Lego, putting planes together, going to airfields, watching them from through the fence. You know, absolute what would you call it? Unfaltering addiction to everything to do with aircraft that most people don't understand. You know, and then they finally, after all of this training, culminate and get the flight and the plane of their choice. The B-52. The B-52, how long's that been going for? Well over 50 years. That's incredible. If not a bit daunting for what it actually means. Guys, let's change this over, and now let's have a look at this from a military perspective so Jacko can think of this. I'm going to move myself over to the other side of the screen now because it feels weird being over there. You know, as you can see, I haven't got the green screen either on at the moment. So what we're going to do is now we're just going to talk to you guys. So when it comes to infantry, the thing is there's a calling for that too. Ever since you saw your first war movie, played toy soldiers with Lego, you know, watched people in the movies and thought, you know what, there's actors that are actually acting, pretending to be soldiers, the real unsaid, untrue athletes that play for keeps. There's no saved game. It's not like the Olympics. It's not like the Commonwealth Games. It's not like the Wallabies. You know, you can actually die even on a good day as infantry, and everyone's an expert on the past, but no one knows what's coming in the future. Will there be boots on the ground in Iran? Will it go against everything they've ever said? If they do, we're going to end up in a conflict that is very similar to Putin, where he can't get out of Ukraine. You know, I think that so many empires have lost their way in the Middle East. You know, you can predict it's never going to go well because they're happier with a lot less. I think that in Iran, we're not seeing them rise up like we expected to with the sun and the lion. You know, we're seeing plenty of them chanting Trump's name in America. You know, they're happy behind closed doors in Iran, but we're not seeing them overthrowing the regime. I'm not up to date because I don't even know what I'm watching that is credible in the first place. You know, the next time you know something's going to be massive is when it's already happened. So we'll wait for that. Now, how this could work for infantry that would be fantastic is when you go to Kapuka, everyone knows what corps they're going into unless they get back squatted. Then your contract can be turned off and then you can go to Army's needs instead, which means you can get a corps that is not what you expected. Officers know about this especially. Also merit. Now, when you get to the School of Infantry, let's just say there's 50 guys in your platoon. We anticipate there's going to be 8 people fail through injury. You can't quit at Singleton. You can't quit, not like Kapuka. So you're stuck there for the long run. Okay, g'day Scotty, how you going, mate? I hope everyone is having a great night. Thinking of you all on the road at the moment. I thought you'd be taken off the road. Here's a trucker. More than 1 million litres in their holding tank, and they're going to go through that like a Zyrtec. G'day, mate. How you going there? Nicky Rice. I know a Mick Rice that was my section commander during Singo. Okay, so let's tell you what's going to happen and how this could happen. And if you're military at the moment, I'd be listening to this saying, let me do this at the School of Infantry. And if you're at the School of Infantry and you're trying to go for the hat badge, the Skippy badge, you know, which is the symbol of the Royal Australian Regiment, of which there's only one, then this is the way it could work. No one should be able to tell you what battalion you are going to. You don't know. So you get all the way through the offence week, the defence week, you know, and then you do your hardcore and you don't know yet where you're going to because it has to be based on merit. Now, having said that, you go, how's it work on merit? Does that mean we send all the shitbags to a battalion so that they eventually, over a 3-year period, have an overbalance of crap soldiers or runts? No. You know, because you're going to have staff members from every battalion. You might have one that's top heavy from Brisbane with 6 and 8, 9. Another one might be 5, 7 with a 3 RAR member and a 6 RAR member. There could be an even spread, but there's going to be positions. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's just say there's only 2 corps that earn their hat badge. They get it after IETs. That's Armoured Corps and Infantry. So you get with 50 guys, you know, you start your platoon. We'll say it's Long Tam platoon. I'm a former instructor of there myself. They're going through at the moment with some direct entry special forces at the moment. Now, when you go to Long Tam platoon, you go in there and you've done everything. You know, this could ultimately be something where you come back, they get you in the piss, you've got PT gear on, which is this horrible fucking green shirt or brown shirt with your surname on it. Right, that's your PT shirt. Wouldn't it be amazing if before your family sees you, that what happens is, or maybe even at the march out, you know, what happens is you're sitting down over some beers, it's completely relaxed, just like that was, and what they do is, one area, the big blue one, has been allocated 7 positions. No worries. The next people that are going to one area will be introduced by Rob Clown, you know, who is a section commander, a platoon sergeant, or a CSM that's down there at the moment, or an instructor that's from one area, the big blue one, the 1st Battalion raised within the Royal Australian Regiment, prefix Royal in 1949. And then he comes forward and then says the following members are part of my family. One area, the big blue one, that's what she said. And then he calls out the names. And we've got the names. We've got Brady, we've got Jakov, we've got Dad, we've got Scotty, and we've got Nick, and we've got the great Mondo, and we've got one more. We've got, who else we got? Lyndon. You guys are going to one area. And what happens is, part of the custom is you've got to fucking, what's his name? The Hulk, dude, what's his name? Hulk Hogan. You have to rip that shirt off, and he gives you, because he already knew where you were going, and he gives you your size of the 1RAR battalion shirt. It'd be even crazier if they had the allocation of the platoon you were going to, the breakdown. So you found out you were going to the Phantoms. You found out you were going to the Zulus. You found out you were going to the Mohicans, you know, all that. And then you got that shirt of your size. Now, every PT session that you're doing it for the rest of the time at the School of Infantry, you're walking around your battalion allocated or platoon allocated shirt. That would be hot to trot. And it also comes with a bag that has a G-Shock watch in it. You know, it also has either a GPS or a voucher for $300 for a great pair of Keanos at Rebel Sport. It might also have this, that, or that, different things that go in there, like a gift pack to the value of, Jacko says 5,000. I reckon 2,000 would be fine per man. That's nothing. Army Reserve gets $7,000 a year to become Surcat 4. Why wouldn't you give $2,000 to a regular soldier that signed on for 4 to 40 years from 19 years old? Not much to ask. Take it out of the NDIS budget, I say. Right? Give those guys that moment where they know that all the work they did, so they're trying to the very end. They're not just assuming. They haven't been told this is where you're going in week 7 of 16 weeks. That doesn't make sense. You haven't earned it. You haven't completed it. You know, the hardcore still needs to be a fail. The offensive week still needs to be a fail. The defensive week still needs to be a fail. Can't make the push off the position. Fail. John West rejects. That would be a fantastic thing. Then they come up, 2RAR amphibious, and they give the history of 2RAR. And then a 2RAR member, second to none, comes out and says, these are the names. There's 2 positions, second to none. Caswell, again, the sequel. And bam, I'm back in there again. I'd sign up in a moment if there was a fight and they said, Kaz, you're back in. I'd have to get back on the treadmill, but I tell you. What else we got? Great Mondo says, to me, it looks like a game of high-stakes poker. Who is going to blink first? Bam. We have to never assume that we've done enough until we're there. And that is why SASR and 2 Commando, you know, plus our Special Forces operators that come from other corps, engineers, signals, etc., you cannot allow people to get an easy entry. They need, okay, They need to know that they earned every bit of that position. Great Mondo says, totally agree, they may drop the ball. Absolutely, I've seen it happen. And I've seen instructors assume the best person in the platoon is someone it turns out not to be. Hey, Kaz, I'm Byron from last night. All went well. Got offered all 3 preferences. I got the highest level on the medical once again. Thank you very much. Byron, that is fantastic. That way it means you can go to Byron Bay. And I tell you what, dude, you want your enlistment date to be after July. After July, because what happens is then you cannot get your training out the way by the end of the year, which means this year will be all training. You'll get 2 months off at the end of the year, and then you'll go in January, February into the battalion in either February or March after the initial bullshit is out the way. Do a BFA, acclimatisation, meet your platoon, put a carton over, and you'll be apples. Good to go. Nick's saying, I was wondering what your thoughts on the 4 Armoured Corps. Which one would you choose? On the 4 Armoured Corps, I loved 3-4 Cav. You won't necessarily get a choice. What happens is when you go to the School of Armour, they'll determine whether you're going allocations just like this. Are you going to the Boxer? Are you going to tanks? Are you going to a lighter armoured vehicle? Maybe it's something like Hawkeye. I don't know. Before when it was labs, APCs, 3-4 Cav, 2 Cav, etc., I always say Townsville's where you want to go. And that's 3-4 Cav. That's what I say. 4 field, okay, for artillery. Yep. My young lad was called today for 13th of July Kapuka. Dad, that is chef's kiss of timing. Chef's kiss. Because that guarantees that he will not get through training in time this year. You're going to have him back at Christmas. He might have look like a cancer survivor's haircut, but you're going to get him for up to 2 months at Christmas time, mate. Well done. Great timing. Can we get some thumbs up for Dad's young man there? And if you're watching at the moment, team, and you haven't put a comment in, you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is subscribe right now, because this is the only channel on earth that does what I do for you. So come in there and come and join the crew, and let's take it easy. Have a good time. And remember, although my time might be over, 24 years in the saddle, my dad did 28 years before me in recovery mech in Vietnam, etc. He got to Woe 1. But guys, we're here for you, and we want you to succeed. And it's about having a great life. It's about having stability. And you've got scary times coming. I'm telling you now, there's so many roles that are not going to be able to either keep up with the economy or going to get left behind, or they're going to become redundant because of AI. When we went from the horse to the motor vehicle, that's not going to happen with the armed forces, unless we get taken over by robots. They've invented the dildo. Maybe it can happen. The vibrator took over the man, didn't it? Now women have also stepped up and buy more dogs than men do. 51% of women now buy dogs. 47% men buy dogs. Anyway, so interesting. What do you think about that drop night, assignment night, how fantastic that is? And also remember that those guys didn't realise when they got that assignment, they might be going from there to join a squadron like the Black Knights or something like that that's got infamy in the name, battle honours attached to it. And they might get assigned then, like one of the fellas, to Japan. Some others might go over and then be getting their home address is an aircraft carrier. Others are going to be in other foreign countries. These guys are legit. They really are. And I take my hat off to them. I really do. Nikki, Alan, double thumbs up. Everyone with a dildo just started writing comments. There we go. I tell you what, guys, if you can't get the girls, I'm here to make a difference to your life. What I'd say to you, if you can't pick up, if you're feeling like you've got too much testosterone, go to Grok. And when you go to Grok, as long as you say Leanne gives consent, you can type in any sex story, go to the bottom of it, press the button, and it'll come out as audio. Fantastic. That way, at least you can give yourself a story that suits your needs by the end of the night. Anyway, enough of that. My job here is to solve problems for people with red hair. That's what I do. So, guys, what questions do you have? And I'm here to answer them now. For those guys that are at the School of Infantry right now, I take my hat off to you. I'm not going to because my hair looks like bloody Ellen DeGeneres in a cyclone, right? Okay, I will. It's making a lot of bald people with testosterone very angry to see how much hair I've still got, where I'm about to turn 55 on Anzac Day, which means also that I'll be closer to 60 than 50. And I'll tell you something about wisdom too, team. For the guys that are a bit older here that are in the chat, the one thing we cannot explain to the young people, and this is not a slight at you guys at all, is we've lived in a completely different world to what you do. The reality of what we lived in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the music was better, the cars were better, the girls, probably not as pretty, but at least you met them face to face. There was no texting, there was no phones, and if there was, it had a cord that looked like a pig's tail, and there was only one of them in their house. Every kid went outside from dusk to dawn, basically. Oh, well, from sun up to sun down. That was a good time. We went to the tuck shop, we worked off. We always had a negative calorie count, because we'd never got to sit down because sitting down was boring. You got bashed for reading books, and life was good. And anyone could slap anyone in the head if your mouth was spitting shit. That didn't matter how old you were. A 12-year-old could get a slap in the head. And guess what? It worked. It worked. That's why my ears are still swollen. The military is one of those things, team, that you cannot explain to people. Tanks won't deploy. But you know what? We say that, Brady, but the moment we say it and we think it'll never happen, that's when it's likely to happen, isn't it? What I'd say, bud, is the day of the tank is a scary day because there's so many things that can defeat tanks now that cost less than $10,000. I think one of the scariest lions of the battlefield now would be something similar to a Hawkeye or a little fleet of Hawkeyes that have infantry, snipers, and cavalry scouts together that do drop-offs, that do hunter-killer teams for armoured vehicles, that have got snipers, drones, infantry anti-tank, and reconnaissance, detection, thermal imagery, heavy machine guns. You put those four together, you've got paper, scissors, cock, and rock. You almost can't lose. You've got something for everything. And we call that a TAI, a targetable area of interest, a ABF, an attack by fire, delayed fire control order. There it is. Any target above that level profile, prosecute it with no further warning or orders. And you drop out a bunch of them and you've got a steel trap out there. The only thing that can hurt you is drones. And I do believe we are very close to the same companies that are creating the drone companies also probably have anti-drone technology, which would look something similar to an automated remote weapon control station on a vehicle that has some sort of Gatling gun that never misses, that shoots these things out and can track 18 at once via computer uplink. For every amazing technology, like the V-shaped hull of the armoured vehicles, to defeat improvised explosive devices, something comes out to defeat it. Yep. The MR darts will take us 5 weeks to deploy them. You never know how long things can happen when the maps get pushed off the table. I can tell you from someone who's done multiple operational experiences, it's funny the way you can be in the battalion thinking, what's going to happen? Nothing. Another year after year, which is always better than being a civilian. Going to the gym, getting paid to go to the gym, hanging around with your best mates, all the time, in helicopters, looking across at other mates in helicopters, being in naval ships, being in armoured vehicles, being so goddamn tired, giving interrogation to a woman, making sure that she's never been with anyone from the 2nd Battalion because you're about to date her and don't want to be embarrassed. You know, there's so many good things about it. And then at the end of each year, when you feel like you're knackered, I can't go on, and it gets to course period, it gets to posting cycle, you know, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're back on leave again. You know, and then you're spending less and less time with mum and dad because you've got so many friends that are saying, meet me in Byron Bay. Why don't you meet me down here in Sydney? Let's come to Brizzy. See you at Early Beach. I've got someone I need you to meet. Bring your doxycycline. You might be a bit itchy after the night, but she's worth it. Yeah. It's the best. Am I correct in saying drop night is when pilots receive their plane in the US? No, it's when they actually finish their generic flight school and then they get allocated where they're going to logistical craft like Globemaster, like Galaxies, C-130s, etc., logistical planes, or whether they're going for training planes, or whether they're going to fast air like F-22s, 15s, 16s, F-35 strike fighters, or going to Bomber Command or getting A-10 Warthogs, and that's when they go there and specialise in that role and then get told after that where they're going to go. You're going to Okinawa in Japan. You're going to the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. You're going to, you name it. So the drop is their assignment, which will dictate the airframe they're probably going to be in for the rest of their life. Very big deal. Very big deal. You know, some people go for the fat planes is probably because that is probably easier for them to also pick up all of their tickets and then go to commercial aircraft, understanding that commercial aircraft can pay over $1 million a year. You know, if a pilot is willing to go over to UAE, especially at the moment, you know, and fly for Qatar Airlines or any of them, you know. Yeah, very, very interesting. Spectacles, let's go. What's the worst thing other than being a casualty? What's the worst thing you can think of that people think why you wouldn't want to go to the Army, Air Force or Navy? I don't know. I don't understand. Why don't people want to go there? Is it because they're scared of the fitness, the hours, the commitment? I don't want to get yelled at, but then they still get married. Same thing, but not getting paid. Andrew Wernham. For those that don't know, Bluey Wernham down there, you can see them, Andrew Wernham. Can you all do a thumbs up for him right now, and I'll tell you why. If you've listened to my podcast on Matty Morris, you know, on Zero Limits, the guy I'm talking about that's been there for me my entire career is this guy here, Andrew Wernham. If I was on a stretcher and I was carrying someone, he was on the other end. You know, if I was mucking around out on the piss, he was beside me. You know, if we were in fights with the Marines, he was also with me outside of Tats. You know, if we were knocking down a chicken beak burger, you know, called the Chicken Hero, you know, it was him. This guy, strong as an ox, had a shoulder operation. He's got a bunch of lovely daughters, beautiful family. The Army gave him a hell of a lot. And the one thing he never found when he left the Army and went to the mines was the mateship, you know, the integrity and the work ethic that came from your brothers that would never let you down. This guy never let me down. Everywhere I went, he was there. And if he's not in the photo, it was because he was taking the photo. The one thing he did that pissed me off and everyone, and he knows, is we had the anniversary for 5 Aviation in Townsville. Over 20 choppers in the air, the battalions all on board, flying around for the civilians to put on a show. And he said, everyone leave your cameras behind. Me DSLR's rocking. It's good to go. You know, we'll get the best film so you guys can just worry about smiling for the camera as we all flew around with each other. And then at the end, they came back and said, by the way, someone forgot to put the fucking film, you know, in their camera. You know, this is a guy who, for a living, used to put mags, anti-armour weapons, mortar rounds, you know, in the slot it needed to go, but never the film in the camera. So, Bluey, got to get you for that one. Every year we have a reunion for Anzac Day, and we meet up some other part of the world, of Australia, whatever. You know, And Bluey is always there with his suit on beside me. You know, this guy was beside me when I bit into a bloody club sandwich in Kenya, you know, and didn't realise in the middle of a club sandwich is a toothpick. I reckon I'm still sore to today, and that was in 1995. You know, the soul of the earth, this guy is, you know, and he's opposite to me. He's clean as hell, you know, but he also hasn't retained his hair. That's because he's also got more testosterone than Kaz, the lesbian ghoul. To Camilla and the kids out there, mate, I love you. You know, you're one of my fondest memories, you know, and yeah, you're not very good on the phone, but you know, you're one of the best men I've ever met in my life. Good on you. Great Mondo retest on the photos. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he loves a good photo, but yeah. Guys, you've got your best mates waiting for you. They just need you to get in. And I understand at the moment it is bullshit how hard it is to get in the military. You know, I've been speaking to people on the daily, you know, that are going, when is this going to happen? You know, you've just got to ask yourself, based on age, what's more important to me? The corps that I'm going in to join, or the fact that I'll be serving the nation? If you're over 30, I'd say don't be too desperate with saying, no, this is the only thing I want to do, because you've already left it a long time. But once you get in, stay in. If you're in the Air Force, if you're in the Navy, if you're in the Army, and you're starting to think the grass is greener, guess what? It ain't. It ain't greener. It is not. And you can live the rest of your life talking about what you used to do, so you might as well not leave it. Yeah. My greatest regret was not being accepted for the ADF back in 83. Eyesight failed me. Dad, I hear you, mate, and we lose our best people. John West rejects our best quite often, mate, and it is hard. That's why I find it unacceptable when people quit. You know, I don't even know what it's like when someone quits. What's it like for the rest of your life thinking, shit, what have I done? We've got a guy who's actually trying to get in now that admitted that he was a fuckwit when he tried to join the military, and they ended up showing him the door, and he left during Kapuka, and he's been trying ever since to get back in, and he's having a real hard time, and all he wants to do is get back in, and they may be going to give him a shot. We don't know. To him, good luck, you know, but his attitude cost him a lot, you know, 12 years ago. Yeah. We've got one of my favourite people as well, you know, who's in Army Reserve. And it's Army Reserve night tonight. And honestly, that puts some testosterone back in his pencil. Now he's training. Now he's fit. He's got 2 teenage sons, and he is absolutely living and loving his life. Loving it. You know, and his boys now go to the gym with him almost every day. You know, he is a positive force for good, and he has changed the future of his family by joining the Army Reserve. And last year, he even got 25 grand just by turning up, you know, on the Tuesday nights, the weekends, the courses that he wanted to go in. Imagine saying, what are you doing this weekend? Do you want to come and do this? Nah, sorry. I'm going to be firing anti-armour weapons from the back of a bloody Hawkeye vehicle, you know, doing live fires. Yep. Auto grenade launchers. Awesome. Throwing grenades. So much respect carried with the uniform. There is, mate. There is. And I'd ask 60 Minutes if they're going to do investigations into people like Ben Robert-Smith and other members of the Special Air Service, Commandos, Royal Australian Regiment. I'd like to ask them, how come you've never done an investigation into Afghanistan ANA soldiers that turned their weapons on Australian, British, you know, Dutch, American troops, green on blue assaults that took Australians' lives? How come you've never done an investigation into them? What about the crimes against children that was done by ANA forces? How come that's never been investigated? Is it only you've got to be a Christian before you can be bad? What the hell is going on? We've got traitors that live amongst us, team. We do. And I'll say it again. You know, no matter what anyone thinks of Ben Robert-Smith, he's got a place he can stay for free here if he needs it. My initial application was rejected back in 2020. Med Class 4 got better and reapplied in 2025 and was successful. Legal legals. What was the Class 4, mate? What did you get a Med Class 4 for? That means basically, guys, you can't join. So he's clearly put in an appeal and it was rectified with medical advice and then accepted. Now, unfinished business, he's good to go. He's going to get the uniform, and I guarantee no one will appreciate the uniform more than the person that didn't think they were going to get a shot at the title. We've got the Spicy Weasel. It's their country. We invaded. No, not true. That's not true. The war on terror, what they did is they backed the wrong side, probably. I don't agree with that at all. We were asked to go as part of a coalition force in the war on terror, and that's what we did. Right? We went out there and we were assisting Afghanistan forces by invite to protect themselves against the Taliban. Alan, probably fitness, commitment, and having to take orders, which I was happy about. I think the education system is to blame for low recruit levels. But there's not low recruit levels anymore. They're getting a hell of a lot. The fact is that it's not run by Australians. The ones in the office probably are. The DEI is there. I'm hearing about bunches of females going into Army Reserve, going to infantry, which makes absolutely no sense. No sense. You don't train to go and fight men that don't have rules, that don't fight by the Geneva Convention, that don't take prisoners, and then send a B team. We're as fast and as capable and as lethal and effective as our slowest member, because you can't leave someone behind. Now, if you send the B team in there, right, and special DEI look the other way, decisions have been made by an officer that's never been in a battle or won a battle, yet you've got to call him sir or call him by his name when you're only allowed to call him sir, and he hasn't won a battle, so why would I know your name? If someone doesn't know your name, you know Achilles. Yeah. You earn your name by deeds, by being a good dude, by helping people, by teaching people, not by the amount of paperwork we can do. Hey, how you going there, Spicy Weasel? We were there by invite by the actual government of Afghanistan, yeah? X1R, the big blue one. We were talking about you guys today. How long did you get over there in 1RAR, mate? And this is a question for Spicy Weasel. What do you believe? Because I wouldn't know how long it is. What is the perfect time to serve in infantry? I wasn't done at 24 years. How long did you do? How long do you recommend to people? Byron Shines, Kaz, can I ask, what do you think about government funding towards the ADF? I don't think there's a perfect number, mate. I don't think there's a perfect number, but it does alarm me that the NDIS gets paid more. We can't have that many disabled people, surely. I think that we should be part of, what would we call it, coalition, partnerships. You don't have to like it, but you do have to support your brothers that give us the defence umbrella that we have that allows us to appreciate the land that is girt by sea. I don't believe funding should drop, especially while inflation is going up. I think they should open the other oil refineries that have closed down. Wait a second. I want to answer a question. I want to see what the answer for this is, because it's bugging me now. Wait a second. Let me ask Rock. Did Australian forces invade? Because an invasion is when you go into a country without invitation and against the country's will. Did Australia's forces invade Afghanistan? Here we go. No. Australian forces did not independently invade Afghanistan. Australia contributed troops as part of a US-led multi-national coalition in the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan. Okay, so you could say we did. It was a result of 9/11. John Howard invoked the ANZUS, the Australia, New Zealand and US treaty. All right. There you go. Operation Slipper from 2001 to 2014. All right. Should have we gone to Afghanistan? I don't believe so. But we were doing that to back up our coalition partner to go after HVTs, right? So there you go. The paperwork said we did. Paperwork said, okay, we literally invaded. There you go. I stand corrected. Thank you, Spicy Weasel. What do you got? Benny Bopper. G'day, Kaz. Apparently we have lost a lot of disabled people in... We lost a lot of disabled people in Lakemba. We have a lot of disabled people in Lakemba. Mate, our multiculturalism doesn't work anyway. We know that. You know, but we also know the exploitation that is occurring across our nation as well. You know, and a lot of that became apparent after what we saw happen in the US in Minnesota with the Somalians. Righto? I'll give you a tip. Where I am, every single shop pretty much has now been taken over by one culture that has just recently started coming to Australia. Now there's shops with distribution with only their food for only their people. And then they've bought the barber shop. Then they've got the 7-Eleven shop. And then they've got the pizza shop. You know, and then they've got the bakery. And then there's one independent holding by itself, and that's a fish and chip shop. And then you go over to walk over the trains, and there's 2 kiosks, and both of those are of the same people as well. Yeah. It's incredible. Every Uber that comes is the same as well. We're losing our nation to a population of another country that could replace us more than 40 times over and not even feel it. We were warned by Fiji and we didn't take the warning. Will they be as nice to us as what we were to them? Should a country where you can't buy land in their country, should they be allowed to come to ours? I say categorically no. Absolutely not. Anyway, military. I say to join it. It is a fantastic time. Did Spicy, have you said yet, what is the perfect amount of time to be in the infantry, do you reckon? Do you reckon 10 years? 20 years? 25 years? 40 years? Are you still if you go in for 40 years, what's the stipulation? Do you have to come back to a field operational unit, you know, whether it be combat training centre, whether it be the School of Infantry, tactics wing, you know, depot company, back to a battalion? How long can you spend on just a computer doing 5-kilometre walks instead of BFAs before it's, okay, mate, you can keep your hat badge, but time to go to the outer paddocks? You know, because, again, everyone of every rank is taking up a position number and everyone should be replaceable. Yeah, I do agree with you there, Benny Bopper. All right, I'm giving you some food for thought, but this is something new tonight, and we'll leave off with it again. And I tell you, I was absolutely, you know, chuffed for these guys, for these pilots. Okay, where are we? And this is what it's all about. Look at the excitement on these people. This is affecting their family.
Assignment night,
the
also
legacy.
known as drop night,
Their family
is a pivotal
name is
event
on
for
their
student
chest,
pilots where they find out
and
which
this is
aircraft
going to
they
be
will
the
fly
rest of
after
their
graduating
life.
and earning their wings in a few weeks. This occasion is filled with excitement and anticipation
Would
as
you
students
ever
learn
get
their
out of
future
being,
assignments, marking
an
a significant
F-35
milestone in their
pilot?
aviation
Would you
journey.
ever
It
consider
represents the
getting
culmination
out?
of their
I doubt
hard
it.
work and dedication,
It wouldn't be
setting
about
the
the
stage
money.
for their careers in the
Would
skies.
you rather be, not this guy, the next guy that gets on? Would you rather F-16, or would you rather be an accountant, or would you rather be a lawyer? There's something wrong with you if you'd rather be an accountant or a lawyer than an F-16 pilot. There'd be something wrong with you.
As this is
Anyway,
when they
team,
find out what aircraft they will
this is what it's
specialize in for
about.
the remainder of their career.
Should we change our salute in Australia from this one to... I reckon that one's better. All right, guys. Any more comments? Otherwise, we're out of here. F-22, there we go.
He is most likely to call the weather job to complain about the van.
See you later, Benny. 2, 3, down. Catch you later, team. Thanks for your time tonight. Take it easy. Subscribe to the channel. If you need one-on-one conversations, whether it's to compare careers, or you've got something you'd like to say, come and see me on the Black Legion. Catch you later. Look after your mama. And thank you to everyone that wears the uniform or has people that are wearing the uniform in their family. G'day, Jenny.
People
How
say
you
the
doing,
guy
mate?
that got the B2 isn't
Late,
excited, but don't realize
never
that his
last.
level of professionalism